Welcome back to the show. Charles Tarbey from Century 21 now joins us with the latest numbers. Charles, look, 4 years waiting for that Christmas present. You finally delivered. Thank you very much.
I'm going to be wearing mine again next week. It's just an amazing thing that's happened right across the Australasian region with pink jackets and pink signs and the change from gold. We were hoping to raise $100,000. We're already over $200,000. And I think
so for the viewers that don't know, do you want to tell them why I'm wearing a pink jacket?
Yeah, you're wearing it for Uniting Pink, for the Cancer Foundation, both here in Australia and New Zealand. And we've been having different events right across the country, all the way down to scones and jelly bean contests and everything, but everybody's just contributed immensely. So we really do hope that we actually go right through 300,000 for the month, right across the offices. I know one office has already raised 25,000 on their own. So there's hundreds of offices. Who knows what might happen?
So they're all supporting around Australia.
Absolutely.
And obviously Arthur found your advert. Are you donating that $155 for charity as well?
Can I just see what sort of inquiry I get first before we talk about that? That'll be good to see what happens there.
So what's happening with the clearance numbers?
Really interesting, and you can see now that the boys are starting to quiet down their conversation. You and I have been chatting about this for a while. 68.6% is the clearance rate nationally. It's slightly better than this time last year, but realistically for the last 4 to 5 weeks it's been in that range, which is where we want to see it, to be very frank. So 70.4% was what it was last year, so in the overall figures, but last week it was just slightly higher, so it's okay. Sydney was the best performer, and that came in at 72% neat, and Melbourne was 71.7%. Good to mention Brisbane again. I know we don't mention it much, so but 48% clearance. And for Brisbane, that's good, because that's now starting to be a consistent clearance rate in that region. And so you can see the market's trying to get stronger there and strengthening.
Yeah, so we had some viewer comments. We want to try and include the rest of the country. So
well, maybe that's your job. It's not just my job, you know.
Exactly.
Tom is always down in Melbourne somewhere. You got to talk to him about that.
So homes coming on the market.
That's increased now. It's 5 weeks in a row, 1.66% up over this time last week. So that's really good indication to see. Again, look, we've been saying for a while it's a negotiators market. There's only certain suburbs that are really kicking in. So that's good to see. New Zealand, though, slightly different. Auckland was down, same as Northland. It was down, and we've sort of got to try and investigate that, because it's been on the upward trend, and all of a sudden it changed. But when you get down south and you get to Wellington especially, now Wellington's had a continuation of climb. I was in New Zealand a couple of days ago, and the guys who run Century 21 Wellington, they're talking, you know, a lot of listings coming in, lots of activity. It's all changing again there. So 2 different marketplaces in 2 different parts of the country.
And what about rent price movements?
Not much movement there except for Perth. Perth, you know, these percentages we keep, Sydney sat on the same percentage, and so has Melbourne pretty much. But Perth has jumped over 20.88% of rent increases now over the last couple of years, and it's giving us an average of 13.66%. So Perth is one to watch. Very interesting place.
Okay, and then finally the vacancy rates.
Yeah, they haven't moved much at all. Sydney's still sitting at 2.37, Melbourne at 3.2. It's higher. It was in the 2s for the last few weeks. It's jumped. But Perth's sitting at 7.02. That's been climbing every week, the vacancy, and that's sitting at an average of 4.2% across the country for those 3 capital cities.
Sounds good. Now, I was presenting in Darwin and then Alice Springs on Wednesday. We had, I think, 90 to 100 people turn up in Darwin, so certainly people interested in the market. Any thoughts on those markets at all? Or?
They're a very different marketplace to anywhere in the country. They really are their own marketplace, and it's subject to a great deal of things, notwithstanding how close they are, closer to us in Asia, and notwithstanding the fact that there's a great deal of activity, particularly around the ports there and mining, and it's still fairly strong. Our office there, that's an office that's been growing quite steadily, but it's also had a lot of investment from overseas buyers, a lot of interest.
We saw in Northern Territory, we saw new listings come on at 11.4%, and active listings pretty much stay stable. So we're seeing the turnover of
So you're
stock.
Supporting me this week after that ad you put in for me.
Absolutely.
Very nice.
But again, I mean, they were looking to try and put us in the hotel while we're over there, and they're saying it's $400 a night for a hotel.
Yeah.
So again, if you've got the right product in the right area for the rental market, you can be earning a lot of money up there.
Darwin's not quite, you know, when you look at the mining towns, how they've suffered. Darwin is a far more robust capital city than some of the smaller mining areas, so it's got a selection of a lot of things, and that's why I think it'll always be strong.
So Charles Tarbey from Century 21, thank you for my Christmas present.
Thank you.
Arthur Chalaftis, realestate.com, thank you as well, and thanks for joining us at home. Until next week, I'm Chris Gray. Good night.
The information featured in this program is general in nature and